Welcome to the Blue Jackets Free Agent Frenzy. It's being brought to you by Ruoff Mortgage. I'm Bob McElligott. Alongside is Jody Shelley and Jeff Rimmer, bringing everybody together from all parts of the world here. And we're going to have guests that roll through with us here over the course of the next couple of hours. But Jody, here we go. 12 o'clock Eastern time, which means the teams are able to add unrestricted free agents. And we're expecting a lot of moves very quickly here.
Yeah, you know what, Bob, as you see it at a nice, Tuesday, Wednesday night in the summer, you find your dance partner at noon and you stay with them now. And there's some long-term contracts that have come up. It should be a frenzy. You know, a lot of hard work's been done. You see a lot of these teams with cap problems and cap flexibility, and, you know, they have their sights set on some players, and these players now have made their decisions. And you think about the last 72 hours, and a lot of these guys have been able to see where they could fit in with different organizations. A lot of moves too. So this is the draft was fun. It was great to see those young kids get picked, and, you know, where are they going to be in the next few years? Well, now it shows where your organization's at and what they want to do. And there's been some big players here to start this free agency already.
Hey, before Jeff gets us going on what's happening right out of the chute here, I want to ask you, Jody, what it's like to be a player and go through this process. And we're going to talk to some other guys throughout the next few hours that have gone through it as well. But you did it. What's it like?
Well, I can just tell you from my experience, because, you know, I'm not a very good negotiator, and my agent had a lot more confidence than I did. And I was like Kramer, you know, in that scene where he was negotiating when he spilled coffee. I think he spilled coffee on himself, and he took he said, "Sold." Because it was such a good deal. He got free donuts. But, you know, I was very stressed out. I remember that day, you know, I was waiting for noon to see who was going where. And all of a sudden, my wife, Mandy, she had a friend over, and they're chatting, and the friend's chatting to me. And I'm thinking, I don't even want to be here right now. I got to make sure I get this deal done. And at the end of the day, you know, I signed with the Flyers there, and it was a great experience. But at the same time, it was a lot of stress. Now, you see the guys who were signing right away at noon, you can tell that they've got to pick their place. They've got some reasons why they picked their places. We see a few guys going back to their hometown, actually where they grew up, some stars going home. So, you know, those are nice things when you have a bunch of teams. When you're a guy like me that just had a couple teams, I tell you what, you really, really get the sweat towel out between about 11 and 1 o'clock to make sure you get signed that first day. That was my goal, get signed that first day.
I'll tell you, there's nobody that loves this day more than Jeff Rimmer, unless it's trade deadline day. I mean, this is right up your alley, Jeff. And, you know, some big names came off the board last night. Evgeny Malkin had said he was going to go to free agency. He agreed with the Penguins late last night. Evander Kane agreed late last night with the Edmonton Oilers. Josh Manson, a defenseman, one of the people that, if you're a Blue Jackets fan, you're saying wouldn't mind having Josh Manson. He's going back to the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. They reach a deal this morning, but as the clock strikes noon, there's already big names going around. What do you got for me?
Well, there's 3 signings already. 2 of them are goaltenders. First of all, out of the chute, Varlamov, the former Islander goaltender, is now Washington Capital, where he was before. And you have a situation where Toronto is where he's gone as well. Just moments ago, Giroux signs with Ottawa, Jody's former teammate, the captain in Philadelphia, 3 years, $6.5 million to the Ottawa Senators. And Jack Campbell, no surprise here, he is going to Edmonton, 5 years, $5 million. So out of the chute, 3 big signings already, and I expect it to continue here through the first hour, because last year, if you recall, there were a number of signings and things kind of dropped off after that first hour. So expect quite a few deals to be made here right out of the chute.
Guys, let's talk about Jack Campbell. They couldn't come to an agreement with the Toronto Maple Leafs. We've talked extensively over the last couple of years about the biggest problem with the Edmonton Oilers, Jody. It was goaltending. There's no question about that. Do they finally have the answer to the question in Jack Campbell?
Well, I think it's still a question, Bob. I think Jack Campbell's still a guy who's trying to prove himself. And there's, you know, you got to look at the playoff pedigree. Toronto understands the value of a goaltender. I mean, everybody watches what just happened here when the Stanley Cup finals and even the semifinals and leading up out of that second round. Goaltending is a story in a series, and there's a lot of times where the goaltender has to steal the game. You know, I love Jack Campbell. I love how he fits in the locker room. I know he's a guy that's had a tremendous amount of pressure in Toronto. Maybe this frees him up, and he's had some injury problems. So maybe this frees them up. I hope it is, because they got the greatest player, the flashiest player in the game right now, in Connor McDavid. Him and Draisaitl, two great players. Maybe that makes it interesting for the Oilers out west and gets those Canadian teams going. But more importantly, Toronto. I mean, this is a team now that's underachieved for the last few years, and they have to make the right moves. So they've made a couple. They think they're going in the right direction, but for me, that's a big move for both organizations.
I should say here about goaltending now. I mentioned that obviously Varlamov moves out, and it's a situation here now where Darcy Kemper is the guy that's out there, the lone big goaltender here in that musical chairs as far as goaltenders are concerned. And I really believe he's going to end up in Washington as their starting netminder, because they've cleared the deck. Vanacek, of course, was traded. And now you have a situation where they're goaltender free. And I certainly expect to see the situation here with Kemper signing, and possibly here in the first hour, a free agency.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have, right. You got to have something cooking to do that to yourself, right? I mean, the last few days. Right. So it was like at the draft when, the moves were made for the Montreal Canadiens. They picked that first overall, and then you see later they traded for the centerman. So you gotta be confident where you're at. Hopefully it works out the way they want to, because right now a little nervous without a goalie, but we'll see.
Can I tell you guys a funny story?
Sure.
Yesterday, about 4:00, I got a phone call from a knowledgeable hockey person, and he said, and I bring in the Blue Jackets here, and again, just hold your horses on what I'm about to tell you. But this person asked me, after talking to an agent believed to be Louis Gross, who is the agent for Johnny Gaudreau. And he said, would the Blue Jackets be interested in Gaudreau? And I said, why? So they can up the ante to where he's going to end up somewhere in the Northeast, and likely with either the Devils, the Flyers, or the Islanders. Well, let me tell you right now, the leading team right now, as we sit here and we speak, Gaudreau is soon to sign with the New Jersey Devils. The Flyers do not have the cap space, and I honestly expect with the trade, Zaka has been moved to the Boston Bruins. That frees up another $3-4 million, and it clears the decks for Gaudreau to go right to the New Jersey Devils as an unrestricted free agent. And again, I think what Gross was trying to do was create a little bit of bidding. The Flyers perhaps were out based on the fact they didn't have the cap room, trying to get the Blue Jackets to jump in. That wasn't going to happen. Gaudreau, who leaves some $20 million. How about this, Jody? He leaves as much as $20 million and an extra season on the shelf by turning around and signing. Really, he wanted to go home. He wanted to be in the Northeast. He wanted to be near his home. And it was a family consideration, nothing to do with the Flames. He's going to sign here with the New Jersey Devils, and it could happen at any moment.
Wow, that's a big move. Good for him. I mean, that's what makes him happy. Good for him to get back home.
So
it's a lot of money, though.
I've had so many questions about the Devils. I know that they've shored up the center position. A move like this is obviously really big. Are they real players now in the Metropolitan Division, guys?
Oh, without a doubt. I think they are. And they may even be attempting to somehow get Kemper away from Washington. They need to upgrade their goaltending. There's no question. They got Vanacek. Is that who they're going to go into the season with as their leading goaltender? I think they'd still, Tom Fitzgerald would like to upgrade that part of his roster. But ultimately, I think the prize catch would be Gaudreau, who's coming off a sensational season, a career year, better than 100 points, and a dynamic player in his prime.
Yeah, but I look at that and think they got so many little skilled forwards. They're going to have that, those good players up front. I know they have Dougie Hamilton, who's a guy who, is doing okay, but he's had injury problems. Goaltending's huge for them. They need another piece on D, and the small skilled forwards can only get you so far. And I think that's maybe the middle section of the regular season and into the playoffs. That's where they wear down. So it'll be interesting to see what else they do. But they've had their picks up front. They've done a good job drafting. This would be a huge boost to them. There's no question.
And if the Flyers aren't able to get this done, Jody, part of the reason is they were trying to move James Van Riemsdyk, trying to get that contract out of there to create space. And obviously couldn't find a way to get it done.
7 years, $7 million a year for JVR. Yeah. And he's a guy who was in Philly and signed back there. That's, a free agent signing. I remember talking to him about that big decision going back there. He was already there once. But he made that decision, and now he's in a position where either they're going to buy him out or try to trade him. So we'll see what happens with him. But they're going to have to retain salary on that contract anyways.
All right. Well, throughout the course, yeah, I was just going to tell you. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say, as we sit here at this very moment, the most improved team in the Eastern Conference has to be the Ottawa Senators.
Oh, yeah.
They've improved in goal. They've improved with DeBrincat and now Giroux, 3 years, $6.5 million a year. They are a team that's going to be knocking on the door for a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference, without a doubt.
I thought you were going to say who has joined us here, Jeff, so I apologize. I was going to answer your question. That wasn't your question. Throughout the course of this show, as we roll through the couple of hours, we're just going to be joined by different guests like Derek Dorsett, who is with us right now, coming to us live and direct from the Chiller North, where the Blue Jackets development camp was taking place today. And, of course, he is a big part of that. And, Doris, not that you've been sitting and watching everything that's going on because you've been working today, but now that you're in a coaching, development, management type role with the Blue Jackets, how do you look at free agency now as a former player?
Oh, it's interesting to see where guys are going to land and what our team's going to do, and see what teams get better, and see where your buddies, ex-teammates are going to land and where they're going to go. And so you look at it from a different perspective for sure. I never ever got a chance to become a free agent. I always signed before, but it's something that I maybe wish I would have experienced just once. But sometimes when you can get that ink on the paper as quick as possible, it can calm the nerves a lot.
Doris, you were ahead of your time. If you were out there right now, you'd be one of the first free agents picked up.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Hey, Doris, how's the reaction there? You guys react just like all the fans when you see players go for different prices, or things surprise you at this moment?
No, I I was just actually, I just got off the ice with some of the guys and just kind of herding them up all together to try and get back to the hotel and finish off this development camp. It's been a great week. And so I've heard some rumblings. I haven't really had a chance to sit down and look to see what's actually going on and what the prices are. But as a player, a former player, it's always good to see guys get, when you're a player and your contract was coming up, you always wanted to see guys get as much as they can, because that means your market's going up too. So, but no, obviously, exciting time for a lot of guys, that are free agents that are going to sign, and it's going to change someone's life for the good.
Hey, Doris, I want to ask you, you mentioned former teammates. You're young enough to still have a bunch of former teammates on a bunch of teams, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. It's and that's the thing. And playoff time rolls around, people are like, who are you cheering for? And it's hard to pick. You're cheering for your buddies, and you're seeing what they're going through, and what they're going through, the grind. And so you just kind of, if I got three good buddies on one team, I kind of lean there. If there's only one on the other, but you hope good for everyone, and you're happy for everyone. And it's why we all play. We all respect each other, and it's just a great game.
Blue Jackets have made some news, boys. They are right now announcing as we speak, they have signed their 2 first-round draft picks, Juracek and Matvichuk, agreeing to entry-level contracts. So they're signed up for 3 seasons, regardless of when they first step into the National Hockey League. What are your thoughts on their play?
Yeah, I was going to ask you. You just spent the last couple of days with these guys on the ice. Tell us about them.
Awesome. They're just, the number one thing is they're just great people. They want to be hockey players. They're excited to be a part of the Blue Jackets. When we picked them and they came up to the suite with their families, you can tell they just, come from great families. And Juracek, his family is super excited, and had some fun at the draft, and he's just got that infectious personality. He's got a big smile. He's a good kid. Yeah, Matejchuk, fortunately I got to see him a lot this year because we have Martin Ricehavi and Moose Jaw, and comes from a big family. He's got 4 siblings, hockey players and baseball players, and they're just good people, and they compete hard, and they've looked good. Obviously development camp, you don't really want to sit here and judge them on what's happened, but they showed what our scouts seen in them throughout the year, and it's exciting time for them, coming to their, first draft, getting drafted in the first round, and then their development camp. And then a couple of days later, finish it off with some contracts by the sounds of what Rim's is saying.
Hey, Dorsett, is it true that Matejchuk actually played the bumper position at times on the power play?
I think he kind of played all over. They had Damon Hunt there in Moose Jaw, and but he sees the ice very well. In that scrimmage, you could see it. He moves laterally across the blue line really well, and he made some really good plays out there. And the one thing I really like about him is he's competitive. He cares. He's passionate. You can see it in the way that he plays. And I seen him play quite a bit, and he has that passion and character where he'll go after guys. If they're down, he tries to make a difference in every game he plays in. And so excited for both those guys. I think we've got two really, really good picks, and in two really important positions. So.
Hey, Doris, what'd you get out of development camp overall? I mean, I saw you and Bowler out there on the ice, lots of good energy, you with all the coaches. You enjoying that role?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I think, Nasher has done a great job planning it. There's a lot of things that, being on this side of it now, and, as a player going through a couple development camps, so you kind of just, I'm going to show up to the rink, but there's a lot that goes into it, logistically, buses, food, and Nasher's done a really good job organizing it and directing it. And, I think the guys, Kenny, Bowler, Mac, and all the coaching staff, Yarko, and the goalies, and, I think they did a great job of, keeping the guys, competitive. That's one thing that we want to do. We wanted to make sure it was competitive, but, still working on that skill stuff, that skill side of things. And I think we accomplished that. The game was fun. Wasn't too lopsided in the score. So it was a great week. And, hopefully the kids learn some stuff in the gym, and, things that they need to work on. And we let them know that they have all the resources at their fingertips that they need to become, professional players, and we really care about them, and we'll do anything to help them succeed into being a professional. And that's what I like about my job too, right? It's, I get to sit on the side and kind of mentor, all these kids, and try and, lead them and guide them to live the same dream that I got to live, which is probably the best job in the world, to play in the National Hockey League.
Yeah. Doris, what are your thoughts of Marchenko and through development camp and a first look at him?
He's been awesome. His English is average, but he still tries to communicate. He has fun. He's always, he's a really good person. You can tell that he's an infectious person. People gravitate around him, and he's working out, trying to working on his English. And the thing that I like about him is he brings an energy. Out on the ice, he celebrates when he scores, and he's fist pumping his teammates, and so he's been a fun guy, pleasant guy to be around, and hopefully he can be a good player for us.
Doris, I love hearing you talk about the job that you have now, and about how important it is to you to be a mentor, because all those years in the American Hockey League and the National Hockey League, when I was watching you beat people up, I never thought about you being a mentor, but it is fun to watch you mature and grow into this, and be able to give the great knowledge that you have gotten in this game to these young kids.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I mean, it's a job that I enjoy. I get to work with people that I know and people that I trust. And, like I said, I get to help kids try and live the dream that I lived. And, you said beating people up, but I was also getting beat up too. So
I left that part out. So,
but yeah, you don't win every fight. You win every fight you show up to.
Hey, I got another comment.
Yeah.
Just one more thing.
Yeah.
Doris, it's you got to be tougher to get beat up. I know that. I'm part of that club too. We got beat up a lot. But hey, I just want to know now that, this team needs a Derek Dorsett. I hope you're slamming the table when you see these free agents out there, or maybe flipping it over in the office to say, let's go. We got to get this guy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, I think there's room in the game and having that competitive. But I think it can be a team effort. But I think that's what I'm trying to teach some of these guys, competitiveness. You don't have to fight anymore. And people sometimes when guys like me or you, Jody, talk about toughness and fighting, they always think that we're talking. Then you got to go out there, drop the gloves every other night. That's not the case. But people got to know that if things get carried away, someone's going to stand up and stick up for your teammates, and I think that can be team toughness, and just knowing, like, half the fights I went into, I didn't think I was going to win. I was usually fighting out of my weight class, but I was willing to do it for my teammate and my buddy, and I think that's something that can be taught. And thing with fighting too is you got to know when to do it. When's the right time? What's not the right time? And so I think that's because I think some guys are willing to, but power plays are so good now. So you never want to put your team down. So sometimes guys maybe hesitate for a second or two when they know they should have maybe jumped that guy, and then it's like, missed opportunity. But just understanding that, and that's awareness, and that's something that Bowler, myself, and Jody, you're around, can help guys with, right? So but I think I think we got that Olivier. He's a tough customer. I think he understands it. I also think he can play too. I've watched some of his clips, and so I think we're looking forward to having him, and hopefully he can rub off on some of the guys.
Derek, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking some time for us right there live from development camp that is wrapping up at the Chiller North, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Doris. See you, buddy.
Thanks, Doris.
Yeah.
Derek Dorsett, Blue Jackets development coach, as he said, at development camp, really wrapping up the on-ice portions of it today. Jeff, we have some more signings here. Another goalie finding a home, as a matter of fact.
And that is
Thomas Greiss going to the St. Louis Blues.
Thomas.
For 1 year and 1.3. So, Billy Husso gets traded to Detroit. Backup is needed there for the St. Louis Blues, and he is going to fill that role. Also, what else here? Kevin Rooney going to the Flames for 2 years, and Curtis Lazar has just signed a 3-year deal with the Vancouver Canucks. So they're kind of whetting the appetite here, aren't they, guys? For the big one.
Thomas Greiss.
Sure are.
How old is he? He was drafted in 2004. He's been around a long time, and talk about a
36,
guy who's really
36.
made a career. I think Barry Trotz has to take credit for reviving his career or starting his career as a starter. And then he stays there. Then he ends up in Detroit. That doesn't work out. Now he's with a good team. So as a backup, he's a great guy. I play with Thomas. So he's a great guy in the locker room. And good on him to get another free agent contract. It's hard to do at 36.
It is, and good on the St. Louis Blues, because look, Billy Husso wound up playing a lot of games last year. I mean, he kind of won that starting job, and then he lost it again in the playoffs. So Greiss, he's an older guy, but he's also a guy, if he does have to step in and if he does have to play a lot, he's shown that he can do that. I'm excited he's going to the West, because I got sick and tired of this guy playing against the Blue Jackets every time.
I was thinking the
against
same
the
thing.
Islanders and the Red Wings. Jeez.
Yeah.
Guys, another thing to keep an eye on here is Brent Burns is soon to move via trade. He's got 3 years left on his contract. Now, the money is far less than the actual cap hit, but I understand that that is not going to deter one of our division teams, the Carolina Hurricanes. It's between Carolina and Dallas. I'm told Carolina is moving in on it, and he will likely be dealt to the Canes, and he'll fill a void on the blue line. D'Angelo, and of course, prior to that, you have a situation where they were looking for a right-handed shooting defenseman, and they pick up Big Burns at I think at an affordable cost of somewhere around $5 million that remains on each of the 3 years on that contract.
Well, let's start with the Tony DeAngelo thing. There were a lot of questions. They were questioned a lot for signing him last year the way that they did, but what a genius move on the part of the Carolina Hurricanes. They knew exactly what they were getting. A guy that was looked upon as being damaged goods around the league, and a guy they could get for a cheap price. And if he pays off, great. And he paid off so much, they couldn't afford to keep him. They had to let him go, and he winds up going over to the Philadelphia Flyers. So from that aspect, they did a really good job last year. Guys, we all know what Brent Burns is. We know what he does. If they can add him to their team that's all about skating and speed and all that stuff, he fits the bill.
Well, Lou Lamoriello did this for years, and players who needed a second chance, he gave them that second chance, revived their careers, and got them Stanley Cup rings. And now it's a cap era, so you don't see that as much hanging on to those players, as you just said, Bob. But yeah, D'Angelo is one of those players. So is Evander Kane, one of those guys who's looking for a second chance. He got it. Now he's locked up long-term in Edmonton. But yeah, D'Angelo is an interesting case, and it's interesting that Torts got him, because remember how he liked the characters of the league? Remember when we had Hartnell here, and you guys remember those back channel conversations, and he likes those kids that are a little on edge. He knows D'Angelo from the Rangers, of course, and keeping an eye on them. So interesting, he's got him there. We'll see if Michael Del Zotto ends up back back with Torts in Philly. He just became a free agent, so he likes the guys that walk a little different and kind of stand up for themselves. And I think he's a great example, D'Angelo, of getting back on track.
Well, again, let's go over the big signings that have happened so far. Jack Campbell signs on with the Edmonton Oilers. The goaltender gets a 5-year, $25 million contract. Claude Giroux, now a member of the Ottawa Senators, 3 years, $19.5 million for him. Ilya Samsonov, goaltender, signs a 1-year deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs for 1.8. So those are the big fish that have fallen so far, with, again, many more to come that will bring you as we go through this free agent frenzy here. Brought to you by Ruoff Mortgage here today. Jeff, what do you think with the Blue Jackets? I mean, it's no brainer to think if they can find something defensively that's going to fit here, that's the area they're trying to strengthen right now.
Without a doubt, they're looking for a right-handed shooting defenseman, and someone that perhaps, if they can get a player that is capable of playing alongside Zach Werenski, that would certainly be the ultimate for the Blue Jackets. But they certainly want to pick up a right-handed defenseman at this point, and I suspect that before the day is out, or certainly here in free agency, the Jackets will do that. Let's just look back here. The Jackets have made a couple of key free agent signings in recent years. Obviously, the big signing last year of Dublin product, Kuraly. And prior to that, look at Gus Nyquist, another great signing, unheralded when it first happened. And look at the impact that he's had, and look at the leadership that he has shown the team. But to answer your question, the bottom line is I think the Jackets would certainly like to first add a right-handed shooting defenseman. They're in a situation where they're loaded up front. Can they improve in the middle? Absolutely. Although hopefully they've got a healthy Boone Jenner to start next season. If they pick up a centerman, perhaps Jenner moves to the wing. But ultimately, they really want to improve that defense and have a player here that's got some time ahead of them, but at the same time has some NHL experience that could help.
And Jody, if this was a year ago, we would be sitting here talking about centermen and pretty much nothing but centermen for the Blue Jackets. But the way that Cole Sillinger played as an 18-year-old rookie, it's 16 goals, could have had over 20. There were some goalies who made some fantastic stops on him. He could have easily had over 20 goals last year. And then Jack Roslovic with that, the bust-out second half that he had, especially the last 2 months of the season, the way he played the position, all of a sudden you feel a little bit better about it. It's not completely fixed. I get that. I understand. But you feel better about it today, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, the Blue Jackets used the season well and put players in positions where, they had to work through it. For Roslovic, what a great opportunity for him to work through it at a National Hockey League level, to figure out what he was, to learn on the fly, to make mistakes and grow. And a lot of times players don't get that opportunity. So they checked it out. It's still a conversation in Columbus, though, Bob, the center ice position. And I just think when you look at teams that go far, they have, St. Louis has Ryan O'Reilly, one of their leaders, one of those guys down the middle. Will Sillinger grow into that role? Who knows? But it's such a key part of the defensive zone, too. So, we'll see what they think, but I think they'll want a center for a long time.
Well, we're joined right now by a guy that played a little bit of center last year when he came over from the Blue Jackets, and it's free agency day. Nobody's gone through free agency like this guy has gone through free agency. I mean, all over the world, free agency. Justin Danforth is with us right now. And Justin, you went through this numerous times before you finally signed with the Blue Jackets and got your first chance in the NHL last year. How do you look at free agency today as now an established NHL player?
Yeah, I've definitely been through it in different parts of the world. So I've kind of got to see everything. And obviously with Europe, it's a lot different than North America. I feel like North America, there's a bunch of hype around it. And me signing last year was, it was pretty cool for me and my family being able to experience that. And yeah, it's definitely definitely a big day.
I'm wondering what's it like for you now to sit back and kind of watch? Are you kind of a fan of this day too, like a lot of people are?
Yeah, I definitely am. I feel like when before not playing in the league, I wasn't as invested with who was signing where and what's going on, and for that matter. But now that I'm playing in the league and I'm have to play against these guys, and you have guys going to different teams, you kind of, I've been checking my phone since 12 o'clock and just making sure who's going where, who I'll be playing against more. So it's definitely pretty cool. It definitely makes it more interesting for me. That's for sure.
Justin, you earned a 2-year contract extension by the Blue Jackets. It was announced well before the season was over. What did that mean to you? And looking ahead here, how's the summer gone and your expectations for next season?
Yeah, I think that was huge for me. I think it was an interesting year. It wasn't it wasn't an easy year, and it never seems to be an easy year. But just being able to kind of get that extension, and it shows that they have confidence in me as a player, and as I think what Columbus and what we're building here is pretty special. And I feel like all the guys can feel it in the dressing room. So just being able to be a part of it is it's really cool for me, and I think that everybody's excited for what the future holds for Columbus.
Guys, another signing here. Oh, sorry there. Go ahead.
You're good.
Up there.
No, you
okay, 7 years. You just want to hear who it is. Yeah, Trocheck, 7 years in New York. Some big money going that way. Yeah, Trocheck fills that number 2 hole at center ice, guys, does not. Strome is out. They need a second line center behind Zibanejad.
All right, Justin, you got to check Vincent Trocheck 4 times at least this year.
Right.
Yeah, he's a pretty good player. So he's definitely hard to play against. I mean, a lot of these guys are really hard to play against. So he's a good player.
Yeah, he's really picked it up the last few years, I thought. He's a guy that was kind of second, third line, maybe, kind of wondering where he fit in. But boy, he got a great opportunity, and look at him now on a free agent signing contract. That's a life-changing contract for him.
I actually my first ever NHL camp was in Florida, the development camp in Florida, and that's when he came over to Florida. So actually, my first camp, I was actually playing against him, or he didn't actually play in the development camp. He breezed through that one, but he was around the rink and stuff like that. I got to meet him a couple of times. So,
were you impressed by him right away?
Yeah, I think when you get I was so early in my career where I'm playing against college guys, and then you get to see some NHL guys like that on the ice, and I think the biggest thing is that, I mean, even though these guys are bigger, stronger guys, they still move so quick, and their hands are on point. So it was definitely a kind of an eye-opening experience for me, and definitely one that I took a lot from that camp, and just being able to meet some of these NHL guys. We had Brian McCabe there, who was helping out with the players, and just talking to them, picking their brains, and getting a better feel for what the NHL game's all about. And after that camp, that was after my junior year of college, so took me 7 years to kind of get back to that league. So it was pretty cool.
Got another centerman for you to play against. Andrew Kopp has signed with the Red Wings, 5 years, $5.6 million per. He's going home. He's from Michigan, and of course was a big centerman at the University of Michigan.
Wow.
Another guy to play against.
Yeah,
I like him. He's a guy who's found his role, hasn't he? I mean, he's a guy who went into New York with that role. Didn't really see him much in Winnipeg, or I didn't. I mean, he was kind of understated there, but behind Scheifele and Wheeler. But I really like the way he played. That's a great signing for an organization now that needs to get going, don't they?
They sure do.
Justin, what's your summer look like here? Now that you're an NHL guy, NHL contract in hand, what have you been doing as you're preparing for a camp that's coming up in September that's going to be really important?
Yeah, I think you're trying to kind of do a bit of both. You want to take some time and enjoy your summer, and try and get a couple of notches off the handicap. But at the end of the day, I think with the biggest eye-opening for me last year was how hard camp is, and how little time you have to kind of make an impact and impress the people you're trying to impress. And so I think with me in past summers going to Europe, you have 6 weeks of training camp to kind of get your legs under you, and the teams are mostly picked already. And as imports, you already have your spots. But when you're going to an NHL camp, you don't have that much time. You're right into exhibition games. So I think this summer I'm kind of changing some things up and, making sure I'm on the ice a little more. And I'm just trying to, when I show up in September, be at, be in that playoff shape, really, that playoff hockey shape that you can come into camp and be a dominant player. So I'm putting a lot more time into the on ice stuff, but at the same time, trying to enjoy it and, enjoy being back with my family and friends and, to kind of take it all in.
Yeah. And because there is going to be competition. I mean, there's a lot of forwards on this team right now, so nothing is a given, is it?
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And I think that's what Lars likes to do. He likes to drive that competition, and I think it brings out the best results. So I think healthy competition is great, and I love competition, so I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's a nice part of your off season, right? When you, I mean, it's easy for me to say it's a nice part, but it's a driver. I mean, you can enjoy. I find when I was playing, I'm enjoying things away from hockey, but with that engine, especially getting into August, that engine's always on, thinking about like, I got to work on this, or I had a good day in the gym, I got to have a better day tomorrow. That's the greatest part about being the athlete, right? The drive, the internal drive that you have.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of pushes everybody. Everyone can say that they're just out there, golfing and enjoying summer, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of work being done, especially when you can see other guys. You see other guys over the summer, and the first question is, how's the summer going? What are you doing? How many times you skate? And it's you're just kind of picking guys' brains and trying to figure out. So every guy's trying to get better. Every guy wants to be the best they can be at this level, and in order to do that, you need to kind of take pieces of what other guys are doing to kind of add to your game, and I think that's what kind of the best players do. So you kind of just that internal competition and drive over the summer is. It's constantly there. Every day you're thinking about, every day you're thinking about hockey, some part of hockey, or the off ice stuff, or the on ice stuff, or teammates who you're playing against, days like today. So it's all it never ends, for sure. There's no days off.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, Justin, thank you very much for taking some time out of your day today to join us, talk about your free agent experience, and talk about what's going on in the league. Wish you nothing but the best of luck the rest of the summer, and look forward to seeing you at training camp.
Yeah, thanks you guys Justin. For having me on, and enjoy the
Thanks,
summer.
Justin.
Yeah, all right, thank you, Justin. Guys. Yeah. Justin Danforth, Blue Jacket, joining us here today on this free agent frenzy show, brought to you by Ruoff Mortgage. Bob McElligott, Jody Shelley, Jeff Rimmer. We'll have more guests that roll in as we go on, going all the way until 2:00 this afternoon with this for you. As Jeff, when's that Gaudreau signing coming? Come on.
I'm telling you, it's happening. It's happen.
I'm not doubting you. I believe you. Well, I just want to know when it's coming.
Let's just look at it this way. In years past, at the 12 o'clock hour, when the free agent frenzy starts, we have seen how many times a flurry of activity, and then it goes dry. At the same time, these players and their agents are not to be, wink, wink, speaking to prospective teams as a free agent. But and I know that those discussions do happen. Now, there was a period of time a few years ago when they actually had a week's time where players and their agents could talk to respective teams. That's not supposed to happen right now, but we know that it does. And obviously, having left a lot of money on the table, as Gaudreau did, he was offered the last contract offer made by Calgary last weekend was $10.5 million on an 8-year contract. Now he has left so much money on the table. It's a situation where it can only be a 7-year contract. And is it going to approach $10.5 million? Well, obviously, as I mentioned here about 20 minutes ago, Lou Gross was trying to see if he could maybe get another team or two in the fray and maybe the bidding war going. Well, that's not going to happen. Philadelphia, for all intents and purposes, unless they move Van Riemsdyk, as we discussed earlier, they cannot pick up that contract. New York Islanders, are the Islanders still in the hunt? The rumor was earlier on this week that Lamoureux was going to make a pitch for Gaudreau. Is that's what holding up the deal and the wink, wink deal with the New Jersey Devils and Tom Fitzgerald. But I do suspect, bottom line, the deal's going to happen here very, very shortly. Robert Thomas has signed an 8-year, $65 million extension with St. Louis. That announcement now being made. But Gaudreau, he's the big fish in the pond, and I expect it's going to happen here very soon.
And you talked earlier
Wink,
about
wink.
the fact that, wink, wink. You talked about the fact that Pavel Zacha was moved out of New Jersey in order to make some more room there. Eric Haula is the guy that came back from the Boston Bruins to the New Jersey Devils. Jody, all of a sudden, Eric Haula becomes a very well-traveled guy.
Yeah, he's a guy that can leave you wanting more, I think, especially when you look at those teams with the high expectations that have Haula come in. He moved around in that lineup a ton. I mean, he was all over the place. He was a player that you watched wasn't he in Vegas and did some good things out there with that first team? Yeah. They all kind of surged. But, I think that when the chips are down, he's a guy that, Nashville, it didn't work out. He just kind of a perimeter guy that can get those key goals. Hopefully it works out for him now. He got a much bigger role in Boston at times, but then he fell in the lineup. So Boston's a whole other story with what they're doing. It's incredible to see they fire their coach right away. DeBrusque comes back and says he doesn't want the trade anymore. Well, what does that tell you, right? I mean, there's some conflict there with that relationship. So we'll see what happens there, but they're a team that has to make these moves. And it's fascinating to see the Boston Bruins, the Toronto Maple Leafs, all these teams making these tweaks right now and see what they have come training camp.
Well, and if you have a David Krejci that's going to come back into the mix, Eric Haula is easily expendable, right?
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Hey, Jeff, this is a minor deal.
For sure.
Minor deal here, but Nicholas Aube-Kubel signs a 1-year deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I knew he was out of Colorado the minute he dropped the cup on the ice before the picture. Before the team picture, he damaged the cup. He was done. It was over.
You think Toronto called right away and said, hey, we want that guy to left his mark on the cup because we want him to do it in Toronto? Or did Colorado call?
Well, it was his girlfriend who tweeted the picture after he dropped the cup and made sure that it got all kinds of play on TikTok. And while we're talking about Colorado, there's another big name that's on the free agent list, Kadri. And where's he going to go? Colorado would like to keep him. Can they afford him? And of course, he'd like to stay in Colorado, but he's a guy that may be waiting behind Gaudreau, having that signature done before then other teams can open up and say, hey, we've got Kadri on our list. But he's a pretty good acquisition coming off a career year.
Yeah, it's a smart play, right? You wait and see what the market's set at, and then you back the truck up. So Kadri, I mean, Stanley Cup, a player, the type of player everyone wants right now with that edge and attitude. I'd love to see him back in Colorado. I thought he was great for McKinnon and kind of bringing a different element to that room. But we'll see. And how about the changes there? Chris McFarland, former Blue Jackets hockey operations side, he gets promoted to the general manager, and that pushes Joe Sakic up to president. Great for those guys that used to be with the Blue Jackets to get the Stanley Cup, but even more for C-Mac, one of those guys that you just pull for all the time. Congratulations to him on getting his dream job.
Yeah, that was extremely exciting and well-deserved. And, a guy that goes to small college and gets in kind of the analytics on the ground floor and does just about everything you can in the hockey operations with the Blue Jackets before getting a chance to go to Colorado. And yes, absolutely great for him. Jeff, a lot of people say about Kadri, if he doesn't stay in Colorado, maybe Calgary would go after him. But wasn't it just a couple of years ago that he didn't want to go in a trade from Toronto to Calgary? He nixed that.
Yeah, well, maybe now he might have a different idea. That's still a pretty good hockey team. You mentioned Calgary, and how about the situation here now with Tkachuk? They've got to get him signed. What does he do now that he's seen Gaudreau bolt? Does he want to stay there? It was just a couple of years ago before he re-signed with the Flames. The talk was he wanted to ultimately join his family in St. Louis, and he certainly has that opportunity. It's this year, and he can obviously take the qualifying offer and not negotiate a long-term deal. And if that comes to pass, I do not believe that Treleving, the general manager in Calgary, can wait by idly and see if he can get him signed during the course of the season after losing Gaudreau for basically nothing. And it is nothing. He goes and walks free. They can not allow Tkachuk to walk free. And I would think that over the course of the season, he likely would be moved, if not before.
Yeah, that'll be a situation to watch. There's no doubt about that. We have Andrew Cassels, I do believe, here. Andrew, do we have you?
Yes, I'm here. Can you see me? Because I got stuck at a train. So I'm in the car right now, so I don't know if my video is up or not.
We can't see you, but we can hear you, and that's important. That's really important. If we could take one,
I can keep working while I'm in my car to try to figure it out.
No, Andrew, if we could take one of the two, hearing you is better than just seeing you and not being able to hear you. So we'll take it.
I'm sure most people are happy I'm not on camera.
Come on.
Andrew, we wanted to talk to you as a Blue Jackets alumni and a guy that, you're familiar with the free agent process. What's today like for you as a guy that's now a fan? You're on the outside. I know you're still working in hockey, but how does this day differ for you?
Honestly, I don't even pay attention, to be quite honest. Unless you're involved, I think, in the process, it's, it can be stressful. It can be a fun time. It can be a challenge, when certain teams that you might want to go to that aren't interested, which, everyone has their top picks, I guess, so to say. And, they have to be interested also as well as you.
Yeah, Cass, you talk about that. Your process coming here to Columbus, what was that like? And you didn't know anything about Columbus, Ohio, did you? You didn't know much when you signed here.
No, I guess that was my third time being a free agent, and it was the first time I'd actually visited this city that I was, had on my radar. And Mr. McConnell was first class during the process, sent up the plane to get myself. And I'd asked if, my son at the time, Cole, was in grade 2, I think, or 3, if he could come along just to see, where Dad might be playing next year, since he was living in Toronto at the time. And just so he knew it wasn't too far away. And, and it was a process that, I think maybe it's done more today that way than it was back then. But it was just, he brought me in, and, first thing was I told him that, my family's everything to me. And, it's super important that, this team knows that that's my top priority. And just the way Mr. McConnell approached it, and Doug McLean, they were more than welcoming with some of my requests, with having my kids travel down, with them picking them up in the plane and bring them down for me, and knowing that they were going to be in the dressing room and hanging out with me for 10 days at a time. And once it was a no-brainer for me, once I knew how Mr. McConnell and the community, how involved he wanted this hockey team to be with the community and with families, players' families, and making them very welcome, and and obviously building a good hockey team and a good culture. But they kind of had me when I knew Mr. McConnell was such a family person.
Well, you talk about that, Cass, and now Cole, who was in the 3rd grade, I don't even know how long ago that was, but now he just got married, right, in Columbus, Ohio, which, what a great spot to come to and have your family and raise your family and start a family and be a part of the community. It's got to be a home run when you think of free agency. I don't know how old you were when you signed here, but I know you'd been around, you'd played with a lot of great players. We loved having you here because you're such a good role model and great guy to be around. But these guys doing their free agency now, and you look back, that is really a critical part, isn't it? Something that can be long-term and something that can kind of grow around you.
Yeah, I think, and I think everybody has a different situation, obviously. Players, they have families as free agents. Some don't have families. Some have families that aren't in school. But, for me, at the time I was, so-called single, I guess, with 2 kids that weren't living with me, but I wanted to be close to where they were living in Toronto. And but then once obviously I got here, I fell in love with the city, met my wife, and 20 years has gone by super fast. And to be a part of the community
Wow.
and to live for 20 years, I haven't been in the same house. I think that's the hockey player in me that, moved 4 or 5 times just to get out of a neighborhood. But yeah, 20 years has gone by super fast. And, I'll probably be here, till whenever I go, I guess. But yeah, we love it here. Our family loves it here. And, it's such a great community, and minus the hockey team, which obviously I love and support, but just the community of Columbus and the surrounding areas is, if there's a free agent out there that is looking for something, as much as you want to win a Stanley Cup, sometimes, I think we're not far off, but at the same time, if you really want to have a great place to live and raise a family and, and just a part of a community, it's such a wonderful place.
You mentioned Cole here on a couple of occasions, Cass. Talk in terms of your son Cole with regards to his hockey career, spending some time in Cleveland with the Monsters. What's on tap for him?
Well, he's going through that process now of being a free agent also, on a different scale. So, it's a stressful time for him right now. It doesn't look like he'll be coming back to Cleveland this year. So he'll be looking for a new home. And, it's tough because, I try to help him with it, to deal with it, but it's a tough process, and, it's a stressful time, and everybody wants to get it done super fast. And sometimes it's a little longer than what you want. And, sometimes being patient helps, but it's tough to be patient when you want to get something done and know where you're going next year.
Understood.
Talking with Andrew Cassels, former Blue Jacket. And Andrew, you've also been working with this team for a while now on the hockey development, the Learn to Play system that's been going on here. What's it been like for you to get back into all of the rinks around Columbus and get to work with these kids that are just starting to play the game, trying to learn about the game? How refreshing is it for you to be able to take all of that knowledge that you have that you have amassed as a player in your career and be able to take it back to the lowest level and try to just help people with their love of the game?
Yeah, but I have to say a lot of the experiences that I've gone through don't usually come into play. I think it's more my experience of being a father, to be honest, and a husband, because you're dealing with, 4 to 8-year-old kids, 9 and 10-year-old kids. So, you have to be a very patient person, good listener, a good communicator to the parents, and try to give them the knowledge that they need and the direction that they need, and, try to make it as easy as possible, because, new hockey families, it's challenging enough if you're not a hockey player or a hockey mom, and to navigate the waters, how to become involved in hockey. It's not a simple process in the past, and we're just trying to make it a lot easier and make the steps, hockey 1, hockey 2, hockey 3, so that they get a good skill base and they enjoy the game a lot more when they have a little bit of a skill base going into playing it.
We still have you there, Andrew?
Yep. You guys hear me?
Oh, there you go.
we
Yeah,
got
you just cut out for a second.
Yep.
Hey, in kind of in conjunction to what you were talking about, though, the Blue Jackets are in the midst of making a big move right now where they're really going to expand what you've been doing, and they're going to take the kids from the Learn to Play and start to really get them into the chillers and start at the younger ages and try to really boost the house leagues here, getting these kids on teams, teaching them how to play the game, the structure of the game and all of that stuff. And how excited are you about that there's, it's growing, the things that you've been working on and you've started, now it's going to start to blossom a little bit even more?
Yeah, I think, going back to trying to make it as easy as possible for new hockey families, where now the 8U program is going to be all under one umbrella, Blue Jackets Hockey League, opposed to your, EYHA, your CCYHA, and your CAHA. So a lot of people, they get confused at where they're supposed to be playing or which organization is better and who has better coaches, and lots of questions like that, where now we're trying to make it, much easier, where you sign up here and then, everybody's under the 8U umbrella. It doesn't matter if you live down by Easton or over by Dublin or over in Lewis Center. Everybody's going to be basically in the same organization as an 8U. And then, it just makes it a lot easier for families to know where to go to sign up and how to sign up, because it's going to be the same process as you go through for hockey 1, 2, and 3.
Where were you 12 years ago?
Actually, it's funny, because I remember when I first retired here, and in 06, I sat down, JD Kershaw and all the presidents of CAHA and Easton and CCYHA, and we had talked about, all coming together under one. And, it was a great idea, but it's hard to get everybody to buy in. And I think now is the time to do it. And it's a big, it's going to be a big project. But I think in the long run, it's going to be really good.
Cass, it's amazing to think, and these are great ideas. This Learn to Play is a great idea that started out a while ago, but to actually see the impact it has. And I've met so many people that have been through this program, and so many people have signed up for this program, and they're so excited to play this game. I mean, is there a better way? Is there a smarter? There's no better way to get people involved than to do exactly what you're doing. And what's it like when the program's done and you get to step back after it does end, right? You do get a break at some point where you stand back and be like, wow, that was a good session. You have to be amazed at what's happening, because we hear about the adult hockey, we hear about the minor hockey, but starting hockey, giving these kids all their equipment and then the instruction for 3 levels, you're getting fans organically, but you're getting people that love hockey. It's just got to be satisfying and fun to watch for you.
Yeah, it's very rewarding. We do 8-week sessions, then we take 2 weeks off and do another 8 weeks, 2 weeks off, 8 weeks. So there's no real big break. It's ongoing, but it's, I just love seeing the kids who start off at Hockey 1 that are crying and screaming and they won't even get on the ice. And then, finally we can get them out there, and then, 3-4 weeks in, now they're marching across the ice. And then by the 8 weeks, they're kind of gliding across the ice, most of them. And then the next session they come and they've got a hockey stick now, and they've got a puck, and the excitement level goes up. And as you see them go through, the 3-8 weeks, you really see them evolve. You see how much they actually fall in love with the game. And that's what we want. We want them to be, have passion for hockey and love the game, and not be forced to play. So, it's a fun environment, along with teaching, but, we have to try to keep it fun and upbeat, for the kids, because, we want them to love the game and, want to come to the rink and not be forced to come to the rink.
Well, I'm sure that,
appreciate.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say, we appreciate your insight, Cass. It's always great to talk to you and have you on. So
absolutely.
Sorry, Bob, to cut you off. But
I was just going to say, Andrew, you probably feel like you do with those kids, like dealing with us. You've been very patient. You've guided us along here, and we appreciate that.
Man. It's so funny. My wife always says, like, she'll sometimes be at the rink or something, and I'm doing it, and she's like, why you're so patient with other people and kids and other parents? She's like, could you bring that home a little bit more? So
no.
I could probably
funny how that works,
being a little bit more patient with my kids and my wife.
Yeah, good luck with that.
No kidding.
Thanks, Andrew. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Cass.
Hey, you got it, guys. Great talking to you.
All right.
Thanks.
Andrew Cassels, former Blue Jacket, joining us. We're going to have Gus Nyquist here in a moment. But, Jeff, why don't you give us some updates here?
Oh, boy, there are plenty. Former Blue Jacket Max Domi has signed a 1-year contract, unrestricted free agent with the Chicago Blackhawks. Anthony Siu also going to Chicago on a one-year deal. Both are getting $3 million a season. Halak, the Rangers have solved their backup goaltending. Halak has signed 1 year at $1.55 million. The Lightning keep getting better. And I'll tell you what, you look at the situation here. I look at Vancouver. They've picked up McKayev for 4 years, a $19 million deal, an average salary of $4.75 million. And Ali Mata has signed on with the Detroit Red Wings for 1 year at $2.25. Nick Leddy, who was traded by the Islanders to the Blues, is going to stay there on a 4-year deal at a $4 million cap hit. And that is the latest as far as, there is one more here, and that's the New Jersey Devils have signed, no, not Gaudreau, but they've signed defenseman Brendan Smith, formerly of the New York Rangers. He signed for 2 years.
I think the TV networks are involved in this. You guys are TV guys. You think they said to him, look, keep Johnny Gaudreau as long as you can here. We got to keep people engaged for a while.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm telling you, Bob, Lou Gross is trying to get some more people in the fray here to up the ante because of all the money that was left on the table in Calgary. He turned down 10.5 for 8 years. He's trying to get more people involved. Lou Gross also, incidentally, has a great relationship with Lou Lamoriello. I know that for a fact, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's not playing that card. And who knows, maybe the Flyers are still attempting to move Van Riemsdyk or make some other move. I'm told Arizona is willing to take Van Riemsdyk on his contract, but they want a first round pick included in the deal.
And they get one.
Gus is waiting to come on. Wrap it up.
Yeah, we got to get Gus on here.
Gus is up to date.
Gus Nyquist is with us right now.
Look how impressed he is.
I don't need Twitter anymore. I just get all the updates from you guys.
There you go.
There you go.
Gus, just a couple of years ago, you were in this position on free agent day. You were looking for a new home, and your home became the Columbus Blue Jackets. What was it like for you to go through that free agency? A guy that started with the Red Wings, got dealt to the Sharks for a playoff run, and then chose Columbus. It was really the first time you were choosing where you were going to go. What was it like?
Yeah, no, it really was. It was a new experience for me, and I don't know. To be honest, with you, kind of a stressful one. You're sitting there with, your agent, team's calling, and you're making a decision on where you're going to put your family for the next little while. So it's big decisions in a matter of minutes. It feels like so. But obviously really happy with how everything ended up, and super excited to join Columbus there 3 years ago.
Gus, is it a situation where you think you have your mind set and all of a sudden you got another offer coming in? You got to look at your wife and say, well, what about this? Are you going through that a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit here and there. I mean, like it's there's so many teams calling, or for me at least, at the same time, and you're just sitting down and kind of listening to what they have to say, and I think just the moving part, just moving your family and all that stuff is kind of it's a big decision for your next little while in your life.
And then when you look at you now, so you come into this group, it's the youngest team in the league. You have a tremendous role with this team, and you do it so well on and off the ice. And you came out this year and you said, no, I want to be in Columbus. As a free agent that came here, you probably didn't know much about the area when you came. How great is that to be a part of something now that you really want to be with because you're connecting with it?
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, ever since we joined Columbus, the organization, the city itself, my family loves it there. It's such a great place to raise your family, and I couldn't be happier with my choice. Before going into free agency, I've always thought that Columbus was a really hard team to play against, and really good building to play in it. And I was really excited when we could sign that deal and move down there. And it's been it's I think it's exceeded my expectations, and we're a great group of guys in there. I'm really, really happy to be a part of.
Hey, wait till you see the new locker room. I just got a tour the other day. It's
Did you?
incredible. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
seen it. I mean,
No,
we're all
I haven't
jealous.
really-
Everyone that's ever played an NHL game, we're all jealous. That's all I got to say. I don't even see a wall up, but they've done it completely right. It's awesome.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see it. Yeah, the first part last year that was done, the locker room itself and the shower area with the new plunge pools and all that stuff, that was awesome. But to get the gym and the training room and the meal room upgraded now too, it's gonna be pretty cool.
You're gonna love it.
I was Killer, the straight coach. He's pretty excited. He keeps talking about all the new equipment in there that we're going to use. So.
Oh yeah, they got all the new Rogue. I think it is. They've dialed it right up. So
yeah,
good for you guys.
Cool. That's awesome.
Gus, I'd like your thoughts here. A former teammate of yours in San Jose, and we talked about this last hour, but Brett Burns is officially a Carolina Hurricane now, acquired along with Lane Peterson for Steve Lorentz, goalie prospect, and a conditional third-round pick. And the Sharks are keeping 33% of the Burns contract, but he's now back in our division and a member of the Carolina Hurricanes.
Wow. Yeah, no, great player. Great guy. Carolina gets better, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They got that right-handed shooting defenseman that they've now lost in successive years, Hamilton first. And, of course, they lose a guy last year that signed a 2-year contract with the Philadelphia Flyers. And now it's a situation where Burns moves all those rattlesnakes. Did you ever get to see his snakes when you were out there?
No, I just saw not live. I just saw pictures. He kept showing me pictures. I see he's got a lot more than snakes, I think. He's got quite a few different ones.
Who do you call to get that moved across the country? I mean, is there a certain...
that's a good question, actually.
Do we know if those types of reptiles are even allowed in the state of Carolina? Some states don't allow them.
Is that right?
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sure that was a condition.
Exactly. I was just going to say, I'm sure that's a condition of the trade, right?
Yeah, right. If I can't bring my snakes, I'm not coming. It's as simple as that.
Right.
Hey, Gus, you were talking about, it's hard to think it's been 3 years already since you came here as a free agent. And, the team that you joined at the time, as you were talking to Jody about how surprised you were, really pleasantly surprised, better than you thought. But a lot of the guys that when you first came here have now moved on, and you're with a different group of guys and a younger group of guys. There's no question about that. But this is a group, and we saw it last year with the way that you guys played. This is a group that just seems like it works. So even on a day like this, when you're talking about free agency, it's similar to the trade deadline, isn't it? I mean, you're curious as to if you might get a new teammate, but then I don't know if apprehensive is the right word, but hey, if we're going to get somebody new, it's got to be somebody that's going to fit, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure you almost done such a good job with all that, making sure that that who comes in and fits in the locker with our group of guys. So, but yeah, no, we're super excited about what we have in that locker room with all these young guys coming up, and I know development camps going on right now in Columbus. So I'm sure you guys are getting a good look at all the new young guys coming in wanting to take a spot on the team here. So. With all these good prospects we have, we're only going to keep growing. But I really like the group we have in our locker room right now, and it was a good year for a lot of guys. Taking new roles, taking on bigger roles with the guys that left. It was kind of a big change. A whole new leadership group, and Boone leading the way. He thought he did a really good job, and I know we're excited about the future about this organization.
Got to ask you about your season last year. You missed the entire previous season last year after missing a year. What was it like for you looking back on, I thought, and we talked about it several times, Jody and I and Bob, during the course of the season, the leadership that you brought on the ice and your play overall?
Yeah, no, I think that for me, personally, the biggest thing was, missing a year, I thought I had a pretty slow start, just getting the timing down and all that stuff. It's hard when you start up, and after I think it was 14 months in between games that I played. But to be honest with you, for me personally, to be able to play all 82 games, that was something that personally I took a lot of pride in, and that made me feel really good that show myself that my body and my shoulder held up in a really good way. So that was a nice thing to do, to play all 82 for me personally.
And how about your off season now, Gus? Because last year would have been mostly rehab, right? So this must be kind of a nice reset for you to get away from that and actually get gains and get back on track.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Keep building. Obviously there's still, I think throughout as you get a little bit older, I just still feel very young, Jody. Feel
good. Yeah, you should.
You rehab some parts during the summer to get ready for the season. But like you said, to be able to get in the gym and get stronger again, that's a good feeling right now.
Well, Gus, thank you so much. It's great to see you. It's great to see you looking so good and so happy about things right now. We hope you enjoy the rest of your summer, and we look forward to seeing you at training camp in September.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Gus. Have a great day.
Gus Nyquist.
Thanks, Gus.
Blue Jackets forward joining us here on this free agent frenzy show, and the Blue Jackets still not making any moves. So there's still some guys bouncing around, and
I think they're watching Rimmer. They're watching this broadcast and they're watching Rimmer and they're waiting. They're going to wait right till the last minute.
Did you see? And I love how Jeff has played this too. And I'm not that I'm surprised here, but Gaudreau is definitely going to Jersey. Well, wait. They could get the Islanders involved here, and he still could go to Philadelphia if they could.
Well, the Metropolitan hasn't done much at all. I mean, you got Halak going to the Rangers.
Right. Hold on a second here. In that first hour, I laid out the fact that you're going to see some trades and you're going to see some free agent signings. And I also indicated, even by the Blue Jackets being mentioned in the same sentence, when I got a phone call at 4:00 yesterday afternoon from a pretty knowledgeable hockey guy, would the Blue Jackets have any interest in Gaudreau? Having talked to the agent, saying, I wonder if that's the case. And we mentioned the Brett Burns thing. It's come to fruition. Give it some time. There were, by the way, 19 signings in hour one of free agent frenzy. Now that's down from last year, 33 signings a year ago. Detroit, we mentioned their moves, and they're about to make another move because we're hearing that Sherratt and the Red Wings are close. And let me zero in here now on former Blue Jackets assistant general manager Bill Zito. He's kind of handcuffed himself. He's traded away last season 3 first-round picks. And of course, 2 of them late at trade deadline. One was to get Giroux out of Philadelphia. The other one was to get Sherratt out of Montreal. All of a sudden, he doesn't even have the room financially to sign those players. And they are about to, if Sherratt signs here with Detroit in the next 3 minutes, as expected, he's lost out both Giroux and Sherratt, 2 players that he wanted to re-sign. He's handicapped. They're near the cap. They've got a $10 million goaltender that we're quite familiar with in Bobrovsky. And they really have. And he played well, by the way. Let's give him some credit. He was outstanding over the course of the year and in the playoffs. But they're handcuffed as far as making any kind of moves.
Yeah, but didn't he have to do that, Bob? Don't you think, Billy Zito and Jeff? He had to go all in, didn't he? I mean, he had the team, he had the goaltending. I mean, he would kind of, you look at it now, the draft goes by, he's trying to move salary, but he thought he had the team to win the Stanley Cup, so he had to go with it.
No, you're right. You're right. But now they're in a position with no draft picks. He tried to trade players last week at the draft, and he couldn't move any of the players that he wanted to move because he didn't have the teams had to take on money, but they wanted draft picks as well to make the move, and he was handcuffed. He couldn't make the deals. And now they're in a situation, not to say that that's a bad team looking ahead to next year. That's still a quality hockey team.
Right.
And they've also they've got to have room to sign Huberdeau. His contract is up in a year. They've got Barkov done. So they're kind of strapped as far as financially with the cap not going up by more than $1 million.
Yeah. And as you talked about, and I do agree, Jody, you had to go for it. I mean, you're looking at it as it's going on throughout the year. You say, hey, this is our chance. No. Right. But that being said, Jeff, to your point, now it is still a good team, but as you go through this year and you're going to look to tweak it again, you have less ability to tweak it because of some of the assets that you used last year to help to make that team better. Right. So
exactly.
It's a challenge.
Exactly.
It is a challenge. Before we get Sean Kuraly on here, Frank Vetrano has signed with the Anaheim Ducks, a 3-year contract for him. Defenseman Brett Kulak going to the Edmonton Oilers. There was some talk about him moving around, but 4-year deal is what he signs with the Edmonton Oilers. So they get that one done. Sean Kuraly is with us right now, the Blue Jacket. Last year, he was on this very day. I don't know, what were you doing on this day last year, Sean? Were you sweating? Were you biting your fingernails, or were you very relaxed?
A little bit of everything. My agent came into town, and I think I can't remember if it was today or tomorrow, but we went out and played golf just to kind of pass the time and let things take care of themselves.
Well, they did take care of themselves very well. You left the Boston Bruins, you came back to your hometown and signed with the Blue Jackets. And I'm sure, I know you were really excited because you told us that, but just to watch you play throughout the year and talk to you throughout the year, are you 10 times or 100 times more excited this year than you were last year when you first got here?
Well, Bob, I think it'd be hard to match how excited I was last year, but I think you're right. I think it keeps getting a little more exciting. I had my eyes on the draft, which was fun to see. I don't know any of these kids just because they're so young now, but you kind of listen to the commentary and the experts and see what they say. And they seem pretty excited about it in the direction. And that's all exciting stuff. And yeah, you're right. It just keeps getting more exciting. It's been a great place to be, a great environment to work in. I've had a blast, and hopefully, we keep, the goal is to win more games, and I think we'll get there.
Hey, Sean, I'm curious because you come back to your hometown as an NHL player. Not many people get to do that. And, you're excited, you're expecting things, it takes a while probably to get settled in. How is it this summer now that you've been here for a year as a Blue Jacket, you're settled in, feel a little more comfortable with your routine around this team now and how things are going?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Jody, what the biggest part was getting used to was during the season, the summers I spend here. So it's kind of, the summers feel fairly normal. Obviously, I'm always in Columbus, but during the season, it was a lot of getting used to it. It just felt weird to be, I hadn't been around like just a lot of things. It just felt like I was back in high school there's Ohio State football games that I was around for, and just kind of like the buzz around the city. And just being around Columbus during the fall, winter, and spring was something I hadn't for 10 years. I really hadn't been around, which was interesting. But the summer seems to be a little more natural. I've kind of fallen back into the same routine that I usually do with my workouts, and but with the major advantage of having all my resources in my backyard here with our strength and our PT and our training staff and all that kind of stuff. So that's been just an extreme luxury, was to have all that at my fingertips and have all those people, right here, and all those resources right here, the equipment managers, the whole organization's in my backyard, which is just awesome.
Sean, how did your first season go on the ice? Coming back to Columbus, obviously being familiar here, but what about on the ice? Your thoughts, and really a career year for you?
Yeah, well, I hate to just judge it off numbers, because I think it's so much more than that. And you want to continue to. I think the biggest thing is how much are you helping your team win games? I'm at a point now where that's kind of, the biggest goal. And as a player, you want to score and you want to put up numbers. And if that's helping us win games, then so be it. And that's awesome. But yeah, it was fun. I think I slowly got back to just playing my game, and not worrying about, the outside stuff, and just enjoying it, playing in front of the Columbus fans, and which I don't want to say I was, because I still am, but anyway, that was cool. And it just, I think the less I was thinking, the less I, was trying to do things, the more often better things would happen. And I want to grow on that. I think you just want to continue to get better, continue to help your team more. And I'm going to have to, if I think, if we all want to get to where we think we can go, everyone's going to have to do a little bit, just do their job. And we're not going to step outside our roles or our jobs, but we all want to do our job a little bit better.
Hey, I want to ask you, what's this day like for you as a player now? It's been in the league for a while. That's been through this process as a free agent. You watching these deals and getting a little excited? Do you keep an eye on things?
Yeah. me and my brothers and my dad were in a group text and we're going back and forth. He signed here, he signed there, like just, doing our own little expertise. But I was in the gym and I worked out a little late today and it was past noon. And then I don't know, did it start at 1 or noon?
Noon. 12 o'clock.
Noon. Yeah. Anyway, the deals started coming in and then I'm just like, my phone is like, I'm just looking at my phone and I kind of got a little distracted. I keep an eye on it. It's interesting to see where, you're like, oh wow, that guy's going to be there next year. You just kind of want to know. You've got buddies texting you that, either congratulations or like, how's it going? Or what are you thinking? And it's fun and exciting. It definitely is. It's kind of, like a Christmas morning for hockey players, especially when you're, it's you looking for a deal.
Hey, Sean, I wanted to just follow up for a second on what you told Jeff a moment ago when he asked you what you thought about your year, and you said it's more than just the numbers, and it is more than just the numbers, because you and I talked about this throughout the course of the year. It seemed like when Brad Larson needed a winger to get on track and get going, he was going to play with Sean Kuraly. It's as simple as that. Alexander Texier, his game took off when he played with you. Eric Robinson, all year almost played alongside of you. Whenever somebody needed to get going, it seemed like you were the guy that was going to give him that jump. And how much do you take that as a compliment, that a coach feels good enough about your game that you're going to be able to help this guy get better? And maybe he stays on your line, maybe he goes somewhere else, but they never dipped after that.
Yeah. Well, let's start by saying, you're getting guys. Everyone I played with this year had these crazy like box of tools. I think everyone had, all the tools they needed and if not more. And I was excited every time I got one, like, someone new. I think you could see their strengths and, that was, so you start there and saying that all these players are, Robbie with his speed and shot and, he's a smart player, and everyone I played with was a smart player. So I think, that's kind of the basis of all this is you're playing with good, smart players. And once they get to play to their strengths, it seems easy, and for them at least. And that was fun. I really enjoyed that. I had fun with that. I think it's something to build on. There was, Danforth comes in and Tex, like you said, and Robbie, and I'm missing a few, no question. But it was just a fun year of mixing and matching, and to have trust to play with guys with that skill. I took that as a responsibility that, I better be on my game. So personally, I'm thinking, wow, I've got this kid, not kid, he's a couple years younger than me, but, younger player in the league, and they've got a high ceiling and high potential that I better be on my game too. So I think it kind of kicked me in the butt sometimes to be ready.
Great stuff. Have you watched other teams around the league and what they're doing? Pittsburgh's, it's been interesting to see the kind of guys hang on. The Rangers are doing a few things, guys in the Metro.
Yeah.
Keeping a close eye on that. Guys you got to go face off nose to nose with.
Yeah, you do. I'm totally, you look where your past teammates went, you look kind of what's going to happen. Teams you're going to be playing a lot. You see, you do. It's not even just those teams. I think it's, you kind of want to see what direction teams think they need to go. To me, it's super interesting. What teams are looking for. And, but yeah, I've been, it's only been an hour or so, but I'll be definitely looking at it and taking all that in and kind of seeing, like you said, what's going to come next year. Like you see the Rangers, like you said, you're going to go in there and it's going to be a little bit of a different team, but they're retooling. Not even retooling. They just continue to add. And
how about the Sharks, your former team, the Sharks? They've made some big changes and it looks like Burns is gone now. And they seem like they played most of the Barracudas last year. There's so many guys that have been called up. So probably guys getting opportunities.
Your former team too.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's that's it. When we played them last year. You remember when we went to San Jose, you looked at that lineup and I didn't know a lot of names. I really didn't. And that's no disrespect because they played hard. They played really hard, and they were and after we stepped out of there, I was like, man, these those young kids, they played hard and they had something to prove. And that was a tough game. So you can't be fooled by not knowing names, but yeah, there's a ton of turnover there. I mean, you look at Chicago and what's happening there. Just all the stuff. It's just interesting, and they're trying to retool and I'm not a GM and I don't know the inside of all this stuff, but as a innocent bystander, that's just kind of watching and not knowing really what we all know a little bit, but not to the extent of, these guys have the plans, I'm sure they have, and the extent of the research and all the stuff that goes into it is far beyond me, but I'm kind of fanboy and watch it for sure.
Are you surprised that the talk is Krejci's going to go back to Boston?
Is that done?
No, not done, but
you tell us.
Discussed.
I think
you tell us.
Rims, that was clever. That was really clever.
You just answered the question, Sean. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for joining us.
No. You know what? I'm going to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised.
While we're at it.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see those guys back.
Bergeron too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see those guys back, and it'll be fun. I think to see those guys back together. They've all done so much there, and give it another shot. And I think Krejci played at a super high level. At least for himself and in the Czech League last year, had a great year. Just this guy is oozing talent and such a smart player that I think he could play till he's 40. But he's and then Bergeron, obviously. What else can you say about the guy? Selke over and over and over again. It'd be tough to go out on a year that you were that dominant. I think he was just so dominant, such a great leader, such a great player. I think it'd be fun to see those guys get back together. Obviously, I respect the heck out of them, and they're friends, and we'll have to compete against them, and we'll have to beat them. But I think that's the fun part.
Well, Sean, thank you very much. Rimmer usually has the biggest scoops, but you've outscooped him today, so we appreciate it.
Sorry, I wasn't ready for that maneuver, Rib. That was good.
It was a veteran move. There's no doubt about that.
No, Rimmer. Boy.
Thank you, Sean. We really appreciate you coming in here and being part of the show today. See you in September.
Yep.
Thanks, Sean.
Yep, you bet. Thanks, fellas.
Right.
Much appreciated. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you.
Sean Kuraly of the Blue Jackets. We're now going to bring in former Blue Jackets defenseman and, of course, our broadcast colleague over on Bally Sports Ohio, Jean-Luc Grand-Pierre. Do you have any scoops that you can get over on Rims?
Nothing. I just listened to that little clip there. That was pretty funny. Rims, you're like a legend.
Kuraly's reaction was perfect.
Yeah,
that was like that was like the verbal toe drag that Rimmer just pulled off right there.
You can see the thought bubble above Kuraly's head.
Yeah.
Question mark. Excitement. Is that out there?
That's funny.
Good job, Rimmer. Professional.
Oh boy.
Rims, you got some updates?
Yeah. How about Sergachev? He's staying in Tampa, 8-year extension. Not that he was leaving.
Wow.
Better than $8.5 million. I don't know where Tampa gets all this money to pay these guys, because they moved out that defenseman McDonough to make room and to sign Palat. They didn't get Palat. He's going unrestricted free agent, and apparently Detroit's in on it. So it's just incredible. 8 years, $68 million, 8.5 for Sergachev.
Wow.
And then they signed Cirelli too.
Yeah.
Cirelli's 8 years, $41.6 million, 5.2 million cap. And hey, you got to hand it to that Lightning team, and Brisebois, the general manager, he just gets things done.
Well, he's got 3 months to get cap compliant, right? So he's got some work to do. I'm sure he's got some irons in the fire.
And Jeff,
but you got to keep your core together.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about them getting better when they brought back Vladislav Nemesnikov. They've signed him to a 1-year deal. Again, a guy that was there before, and a guy that, last year he had 16 goals. I mean, he's when they're going to start looking to, maybe they have to fill that what Palat does by committee. Who knows? And that's not a bad guy to go to.
Palat's a huge hole. That's like Krejci. Yeah. That's one of those players you dream about.
Yeah.
there are 3 major free agents, and they all remain without a contract as we sit here. Number 1, Gaudreau, still thinking New Jersey's the spot. Number 2, Kadri, depending on where Gaudreau goes. And number 3, Klingberg. We haven't talked about him, but he is a valuable right-handed shooting defenseman, and there are several teams interested. Carolina was, but now that they got Burns, I don't believe that they're in the hunt. But those are 3 top free agents, and then we throw Palat in, number 4 on my list, and he's available. And apparently Detroit's kicking tires because it was Stevie Yzerman who's improved his team tremendously with some of the free agent signings here. I think it's, and trades. Let's not forget trades that he's made. He's the guy that gave Palat his first chance to play in the National Hockey League. Some interesting times.
The Lightning are going to look the same for a long time. Eric Chernak just got an 8-year deal too.
Wow.
41.6.
Wow.
So he's also making 5.2 average salary. So
you got the goalie, keep the defense, right?
Yeah.
Or try to keep them together.
Yeah. And again, remember that team, they've lost guys along the way, but their core has been together since the American Hockey League with that team.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yzerman put that core together, and Brisebois has done a good job of keeping the base of it.
Wasn't Nemesnikov a part of that team?
Yes.
Was he a part of that team in the American League?
Yeah,
So
he's
that's
going back.
interesting move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He was
He's going back. Yep.
Yeah, a little pedigree there. Yeah, that's it's not really a surprise. Jean-Luc, has anything surprised you so far today?
Surprised that, like Remzu said, Gaudreau, Klingberg, and Kadri have not, officially signed yet. But I think for Gaudreau it was a last-minute decision because they were pushing all the way to the end there in Calgary. But for me, that's the biggest surprise. Usually you see those big names go out kind of like that first hour because they have something hammered out behind the scene. But this season, it's a completely different story. And then what about like the goalie market this year? We've been begging for a goalie market for 2 years. And this year, as much as the draft was not goalie strong, it was all goalies in free agency and trades were prior to today's date.
Yeah. And, it's interesting with you look at these teams and those big names, right? I wonder the landscape right now because, it's a big deal to get to free agency for a lot of these guys. And, once 12 o'clock hits, do you get those surprise offers? Because as we were talking about earlier, even with Gus, he said it was pretty stressful because, he talked to his wife and his family about one situation and something else would pop up. So maybe they're getting, there's some teams that have got to make major changes and sign impact players or trade for them. Maybe these guys are fielding offers or they're traveling places for press conferences. I don't know. But when the time is right, we'll hear. But right now, it's just been an hour and a half. And you're right. Those are the big names out there, the impact guys for organizations.
Right.
Of course.
And Joe, go ahead, Rens. Sorry.
I just want to say that there are only so many teams that these players can go to. Everybody is cash strapped. And that's why we've seen the flurry of activity that we've seen trade-wise over the last several days, if not weeks. But now it's a situation, these players are on big tickets or will be on big tickets. And how many teams can actually go out there and afford those contracts based on what the salary cap is as we sit here?
That's a good point.
But you know what? There is a team by the name of the Blue Jackets, and they do have quite a bit of space. Jarmo Pekalainen has said this to us on many occasions, that he is willing to take contracts, but you've got to give me something extra for it. And is he right now talking to some of those teams that would like to be in a position to sign some of those players? And might the Blue Jackets be a player themselves? So something to think about here as we sit an hour and a half plus into free agency.
Yeah, it was like you were talking about earlier, Jeff, with Arizona. If they're going to take James Van Riemsdyk off the hands of the Philadelphia Flyers to help them to create cap space, they want a first-round pick. Absolutely, 100%. Especially in this case, if they're going to get Johnny Gaudreau, you deserve a first-round pick.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
just the way it is.
Oh,
if I'm going to,
sure.
you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, but I got to have a first-round pick because you're getting a premier player in the league, right?
Right on.
Yeah, that's that. You're not doing it for free. And of course, Arizona, there's no question they're looking for draft picks and they've got the luxury of cap space. So good on them if they can do it. It'll be interesting.
There's another thing too to consider. And that is, and again, we go back to Jarmo Kekalainen and things that he has said in the past. There are players, if you want player A, you might have to part with player B. That player is a quality player, a young player that certainly the Blue Jackets would be interested in. Okay, we'll take that player. Now you have the room to sign Gaudreau or Kadri or whatever, and the Blue Jackets have an impact player that's going to be here, not just on the short term, but for the foreseeable future. Those types of moves can be made here now too.
Right. And Jean-Luc, that's what's important here too, right? I mean, it's kind of a catch-22, I think, with the Blue Jackets, because you've got to get from point A to point B, which is where you're a contender once again. But then you'd also like to have that player around once you're ready to make that push, because what if these young guys, you don't want to force a year check to be ready in 2 years to compete deep into the Stanley Cup playoff run, right?
Yeah, and it's hard to, those guys, the scouts and the talent evaluator, they're trying to project in how long will these guys really be NHL ready. And, there's always a curveball, whether it's COVID or injuries. So you never know what is your team really going to look like in 2 years. So, yes, you got to manage the cap. You got to manage those veterans you bring in. But to me, as I look at free agency today, and, Jody, you've been through it more than I do, but it's not like we're the big bucks, claimer there in the free agent market. But I feel a lot of stress for those big names, the Gaudreau, the Klingberg, the Kadri, because their market value is like $9 million plus a year. And as you're looking at all these signings throughout the league, there's, like Jeff said, there's less and less teams that can afford you all of a sudden because of that salary cap. So the salary cap has been great for parity and for the fans and everything. But as a player that's going to free agency and you're that big ticket guy, all of a sudden, all the big markets that maybe you're thinking about going, those spots been claimed already. So where do you end up?
Yeah, I mean, that is tough, right? You think you're going to be a free agent, you go wherever you want. Back in the good old days when Detroit took everybody and all those, teams were loading up year after year, you go be a part of a dynasty. Well, that's not happening anymore. So that's a good point. And yeah, there's a ton of stress in these decisions. And I'm sure Johnny Gaudreau has been thinking about it all year with his family, but it'll work out how he wants. But you're right. There's probably got to be some dancing in some of these organizations that want him. You were just talking about what organizations look like after free agency. What is Chicago going to look like? This to me is, I mean, they're on the biggest teardown we've seen. I don't think even Buffalo, Jean-Luc, made this big of a teardown. I know they're looking at Connor Bedard for next year, but boy, it doesn't always work out. You're giving away a lot of great young pieces that you'll be missing, I think.
Yeah, big time. And you look at their contracts, so they signed 2 free agents only for 1 season. So it's really like, if you look at how many contracts they have allocated beside maybe Seth Jones past this season, it's going to be like the bare minimum. So that's going to, I would not want to be a Blackhawk fan.
They got to get up to the floor, right, Rimmer? They got to get up
Absolutely. Yeah, they've got to be at the floor. There is that bottom, and they're going to have to sign some players here. You look at the situation with Arizona. They're not even going to be in a position to move into the new building, which they say is moving forward here. Not final, but they're well on the way. And they're going to be playing in an arena that seats 5,000. They're going to play something like 20 of their first 22 games on the road this coming season. And a big reason for that is they're making some adjustments to this college rink to even facilitate a National Hockey League team. So they don't care about taking money on to get to the floor as long as they get those draft picks. And that's why they held out with an attempt by Chuck Fletcher to deal Van Riemsdyk, but he wanted a first-round pick in return, and he'd take the money and he'd get to the floor that way.
Well, you see what Arizona's doing today. I mean, they're putting together a lineup that'll only draw about 3,000 people, so that'll work out perfectly. I mean, they've signed Nick Bjugstad to a 1-year deal, Josh Brown to a 1 year, Troy Stetcher to a 1-year deal. I mean, yeah, Jeff, this is what Chicago is doing is in some ways it's mind blowing. It is. It's mind blowing. But look what these guys are doing. I mean, they just don't care. You talk about playing the long game. The Arizona Coyotes, and I don't know how long the game is that they're playing, but they're certainly not playing for this year or next.
No, they're not. They're playing for, they hopefully are going to move into a new arena of their own. They weren't happy in Glendale. They obviously fell into disfavor with the folks in Glendale. They're now going to play in a college facility for at least the next 3 seasons. They're in a bad situation, and they're trying to make the best of it. And just think in terms of the team needing to play 20 of the first 22 games or so on the road. That is not going to be a good start for a team that's going to take their lickings through much of the season.
Hey, yeah, Jody, you were talking about the no guarantees if you tank for the number 1 pick. Jean-Luc, look what happened in Buffalo. I mean, they out and out tanked trying to get McDavid. They wound up with the, Jack Eichel, which many people said, okay, well, that's a nice consolation prize. That worked out terrible for them. It's starting to pay off now that they finally got through all of that. But not only did they not get the guy they thought they were going to, but when they did get the other guy, that wasn't the guy they needed.
Yeah, it didn't work out, unfortunately. And it's funny, we were talking about that last week in Montreal, when Kevin Adams got hired there, we're like, oh boy, the guy was in the front office in, not even a hockey spot. And now he's running the show, and you can see their prospect pool is so strong. But yes, they're way behind the curve. It's a 10, 12-year rebuild in Buffalo versus some other team. But I will tell you to get back to Arizona, as the Blue Jackets just finished their prospect camp, with the amount of first-round picks that they have over the last couple of years, and they keep accumulating, if they have good scouts, they might have the youngest, best scorer ever. That, their prospect camp roster by the end of the year may be able to beat half the NHL teams, because the amount of talent that they've been able to draft over the last few years, picking up all these bad contracts. The future is bright, but right now, for those next 4 or 5 years, it's going to be a rough ride in Arizona for sure.
I look at Chicago. I can't believe what's happening. I just don't get it. I think DeBrincat, unless there's something I don't know. I mean, and then Kirby Doc. I mean, give him another year. He wasn't totally healthy all year. I just don't know how you think you're going to find a kid that's, because you can't just have Bedard. You have to have, I always go back to when Crosby came in the league, generational player. He had such great veterans around him when he came in. Billy Guerin was there. I could name them all. And these are solid, good individuals who had long NHL careers. Well, they also had, they were trying to establish their culture there. Well, you need to have a little bit of that. You can't just have 1-year guys come in and then bring in a star and then say, here you go. Here's the keys to the Cadillac. Off you go. Right. It's not how it works in hockey. So I'm interested to see their direction and exactly their game plan here. Because right now I'm missing something.
Jody, you mentioned Billy Guerin. What a veteran GM move he made here over the last 24 hours, or 36 hours. He went into the draft last weekend, and when he signed Fleury to the 3-year or 2-year deal at better than $3 million, the agent for Cam Talbot had an immediate meeting with him, and then told the media that Guerin had a lot to think about. And Guerin turned around to the media and said, I've got nothing to think about. He's under contract. He's staying here. It's Talbot and Fleury. Then he thought about it for a couple of days, and he said, I don't want a disgruntled guy here. I don't want an unhappy guy here. And he turned around and he dealt the goaltender to Ottawa. And in return, he picks up a goaltender by the name of Gustafsson, a young goaltender who has a high ceiling. And by the way, when Guerin was the assistant general manager in Pittsburgh, he was part of the process that drafted Gustafsson as a draft pick by the Penguins. So he's now got him along with Fleury. So a veteran GM move made by a real good guy, a young guy in the GM chair, but I give him a lot of credit for making that move and saying, I don't want anybody here. I don't want any bad vibes around my team. This is what we're going to do. And he moved ahead and did it.
Hey,
I like it. I mean, yeah.
As we're talking about rebuild and all these teams, what about Ottawa? Like they're taking a big step here, after the death of the owner last year. people were wondering what the kids were going to do with the team. Are they going to sell it? Are they going to spend any money? And then they're making a pretty big splash so far.
Hey guys, big signing. Darcy Kemper, is we talked about the first hour, has signed with the Washington Capitals, 5 years, $5.25 million a year, $26.25 million. And that's a long contract for now their number one goaltender.
I think
Kemper.
Bob alluded to that in the first hour, didn't you, Bob? Was that you or
that was Rimmer?
You said
okay.
He's a number one goaltender, isn't he? Their only goaltender right now.
Yeah.
Right now, yeah.
He's 1, 2, and 3.
Hey, right now he has to play 82 games, 82 games a year at 5.25. That's a good deal.
Yeah, but he is
really
a Stanley Cup game-winning goaltender, so he's got a leg up on it.
Yeah,
he's got a cup now.
He is, but I mean, there was a lot of talk in that series about whether or not he finished in goal in that series too. I mean, it's yes, he gets a Stanley Cup ring, and yes, he played well enough. But is it a slam dunk? I don't know.
Hey, here's my thought. He reminds them of Holtby. I think Holtby was one of those players who was kind of in that, that existence of, can he get it done? Is he that 1A? He did it well enough to get it done in front of John Carlson, who again is having had a great year last year. So, and now he has the cup. Maybe he has the confidence. And I always go back to Osgood and the days of the Red Wings when, he wasn't the dominator, Dominic Hasek, but he got a couple cups out of it because he understood what was in front of him. So it's a good signing by them. I think it's again, that's a team that is their window still open though. That's something that I guess they think it is.
Well, to pay that money for a goalie, they think it is. Backstrom's going to be out for quite a while. And, there was a lot of talk if Malkin had gone to free agency, would he have signed with the Washington Capitals? What a coup that would have been. But it doesn't happen. So I don't know if their window's still open. But it's easy to sit on the outside and say Washington, Pittsburgh, Boston, they're starting to age out. But yet they still have stars though, and that's what keeps them in it.
Right. Put yourself in that garage where all those cars are still there and they're looking good and they're getting better, and you're like, well, I guess we got to keep this thing going.
And as our insider, Sean Kuraly told us, Krejci is going to be re-signing with Boston, and Bergeron's not too far behind.
Hey, to get back to Jean-Luc in Ottawa, I think it's such a great thing what they've done, Jean-Luc. I mean, I look at a rebuild and I think of, Thomas Chabot is one of those guys that, they had, and then they went and they groomed Batherson, he was an all-star this year. He didn't get to go because he hurt his ankle. They pick up Kachuk, who brings the edge. They didn't have the goaltending, but they've shored that up with Talbot. And then they somehow get DeBrincat, and they've added Giroux, who's a local guy and a leader. So I love their team. I can't wait to see them on the ice because they've kind of checked all the boxes.
Yeah, and they got rid of Matt Murray because that was the big elephant in the room there in Ottawa all season long, and they found a way to unload him and create that room to sign Giroux. So yeah, it's gonna be it's a team that's been hard to play against all year long.
That's right,
for the Blue Jackets, and they have that edge, like you said, with Kachuk, and obviously their coach. It's funny how these teams play like their coach played, almost like just a pain in the butt.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's exactly what Ottawa was. And now you bring a veteran goaltender. Obviously, they're good on D, and then a couple extra forwards in DeBrincat and Giroux. So should be a fun team to watch in Ottawa.
Hey, Jody, to me, when I look at Ottawa, I think, okay, here is a third general manager. First one, Joe Sakic, when Matt Duchene wanted traded. Remember, he held on. He stuck to his guns. A lot of people were saying, what is he doing? He's holding on too long. He's not going to get what he's worth. And he eventually did. Pierre Dorian, when he made a Matt Duchene trade, it was kind of the same thing. And he traded away him. He gave him and Dzingel to the Blue Jackets. There was a time where it was like, what is this guy doing with this franchise? Yeah. Kevin Adams was the other guy, right? Holding on to Jack Eichel. And people were saying he's holding on too long. Get it, whatever you can get. He ends up making a good deal. So, Sakic and Adams are now coming out. Well, Sakic, not only is he out of the tunnel, but he's on a completely different highway with what he's done. Kevin Adams is coming out of the tunnel here after the Jack Eichel thing, and Pierre Dorian might be starting to hit that same stride with the team he's put together now.
That's a really good point. I mean, and that's the importance of these GMs understanding the value of their assets. And I think that's what Yarmo has done a very good job, him and his staff, of understanding what he has. He might price them high when people first circle around, but by the end of it, he usually gets what he wants out of it because he's very upfront and honest with, what he'd be giving up. So, it's been fun to watch it here too. But yeah, those are great examples, and it's a good point you bring up because from the outside, again, right? It's easy to say, get him out of there.
Yeah.
Just take what you can. But that's a second overall pick in Eichel. I mean, that's someone who was publicly not happy. And Jean-Luc, who used to play for the Sabres, I mean, I know you're still part of the alumni there. And, you guys probably would have back channel conversations, or you would hear about it. Like, what are they doing? But it has worked out to put a positive spin. I think the key is getting a guy like Tuck back who wants to be in Buffalo, who wants to be a part of the solution. That helps everything tenfold and speeds it up.
Absolutely. And that's the key. It's like those two franchises in this, when you're doing that rebuild, you want to make sure that you have people that want to be with the organization. And then obviously, once you start winning, everybody wants to be in Buffalo. Everybody wants to be in Columbus. And I think the prime example is Pittsburgh. I said, when we used to play against Pittsburgh, there used to be nobody there, right before Crosby there. And then finally Crosby gets there. They bring a few veterans. And all of a sudden, Pittsburgh's the greatest hockey city in the United States, and everybody wants to go to Pittsburgh. Well, there's a reason why. There are cups, right? It has nothing to do with the city a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's like Detroit too. It's the same thing, right? Detroit when they were winning, Pittsburgh when they're winning, and I guess Mario and Sydney had something to do with those 2 decades of winning.
I'd be interested in you gentlemen's thought on a story that came out a couple of weeks ago. Former Blue Jacket Pierre-Luc Dubois informed the Winnipeg Jets that he's not going to re-sign there, and he's got basically 2 years before becoming an unrestricted free agent if he's not traded before. Now, the story goes that his destination, where he wants to go, is back to his hometown and play in Montreal for the Canadiens. If you're Cheveldayoff, the general manager in Winnipeg, and you know that your time with Dubois is rather limited, do you sign him, as the Blue Jackets did when Dubois and Yarmo and the Jackets organization talked to Dubois and at that point said he wanted out? Do you move him now, or do you just say you're going to be a Winnipeg Jet for 2 years and then you can look at unrestricted free agency there? What's best for the Winnipeg Jets? Because that's still a pretty good hockey team as it sits here today, a team that they feel they can contend in the West.
I would go back to what Bill Guerin said and just say he's got nothing to think about. They own his rights. He's going to be here for 2 years, and he's going to be a Winnipeg Jet. And kind of put that to bed, because we saw what happened here up front in training camp when Dubois was not happy. He kind of put himself on an island away from his teammates, and he wanted out. It worked out briefly for him, but, to see it's not a long-term thing. I got no problem with him wanting to go home, but at the same time, he doesn't need to be talking about that right now. He has nothing to do with free agency right now. He just needs to do what he's supposed to do as a contracted player and do his job well and see how it works out. But it's a little premature to think that he'd have to put that out there at this point in time.
Yeah, he should have thought twice before he said it.
I agree with you, Jody, because if I'm Winnipeg right now, I'm riding those last 2 years. Of course, I'm gonna make some calls and see if anybody's interested. But it's gonna have to be a sign and trade that Dubois is gonna have to accept, because realistically, he'll want to test free agency. Because, like Jeff said, I can pretty much confirm as well that he wants to be back in Montreal. And if I can't use, why jump and give assets for Dubois when I can sign him as a free agent in 2 years? And it's kind of
exactly,
like when the Rangers were rebuilding and Panarin was here, and pretty much everybody knew that that's where he want to go. The Rangers didn't trade for him; they wait till free agency, because if the player's pretty much set on where he's going, why would you give assets? When you don't have to, because it's not like you're going for the cup in the next 2 years in Montreal anyway.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
listen, I loved Pierre-Luc Dubois when he was here. I mean, he was a fun kid to be around. We saw him play some really good hockey, but the way he left here in this situation, the 2 words that come to my mind is spoiled brat. I don't get it. I don't understand why as Jody said, this is not the time to be talking about that. And even if that is the case, back channel it, right? Make sure the people that need to know, but I don't need to know. You don't need to know. I just don't like it. I think the whole thing stinks.
Right now in Montreal, it's kind of like the same thing. If you like the feeling amongst the fans is, well, I don't know if we need Dubois right now, because there's a guy that, he's 24 years old and he's been on 2 teams already and asked to be traded twice. I don't know if we want him. And, I was looking on Twitter today because there were some rumors about Kent Hughes trying to acquire him, and everybody's against it right now. It's just not the right time. So,
and there's no asking out of your hometown. Well, if you go to Montreal, if you ask out of another place, and you get to Montreal, and in 2 years you say, I want to get out, you may as well. I mean, that's it. I think it's over.
I think you need to go to Montreal as a 33 or 34-year-old for your last go around, and then that's the best time to go there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, because the heat gets turned up very hot, very quick.
The Lightning have filled the hole of McDonough's move to Nashville. Ian Cole, Stanley Cup champion, signs a 1-year deal for $3 million. Good signing.
That's a good pickup. Yeah, that's a very good pickup.
Yeah. We've seen him play. Yeah, they're getting him for a reasonable price. We know what he does. He's a good defenseman, good stay-at-home defenseman. And, the rich get richer, as you said earlier, Jeff, no doubt. All right, we only have a couple of minutes left here, and the Blue Jackets still haven't done anything to this point. Jarmo Kekalainen is scheduled to meet with the media at 4:00 this afternoon. You'll be able to watch that at bluejackets.com. Jody, I'm going to start with you. Do you think Jarmo is going to be able to find something to fine-tune? It's not going to be a big move here, but maybe just a little move to make, probably, I would guess, the blue line better.
Yeah, and I don't think it's up to Jarmo right now. I think that the big chips have to fall, and then the guys that they're targeting, maybe they are in on the big ones, which they probably should be. But they have specific players that they're targeting, that they're realistic, that they want to get in here, and they've made presentations to. And those players are waiting to see which jobs are taken. Maybe they have a desired number one. And if that slot's taken, then the Blue Jackets are here. So everyone's got their own balls. The balls are in the air. I think he'll get, because there's a plan A, a plan B, a plan C to fill a hole. So he'll get something done. It's just a matter of how happy will he be when it is done with the player he does get, or two.
Yeah. And what we've seen from him is, Jean-Luc, he's a guy that usually he's got to be happy when it's over. He doesn't settle for less.
Yeah, exactly. And for Jarmo, is very methodical about the way he approaches this time. And he's not out there he's looking for culture boosters in that locker room and somebody that can add some grit. Obviously, that blue line, it's not a strong defenseman market this year, but it's not, if you look at where the franchise is and where they're heading right now, this is not the right time to bring that big name and say, hey, we're going for it next year. Because these guys, yes, they want their money, but they also want to win. No longer is that time where guys would take money, somewhere and just go for, the city. They want to win as well. And right now, that window for Blue Jackets to compete for a Stanley Cup, I think it's probably still 2-3 years away, as they're still in that retool, rebuild, whatever we may want to call it. So do I expect a big splashy name from day one come into the Blue Jackets? No. But, a little sneaky signing like we saw last year with Sean Kuraly, or a couple of years ago with Gus Nyquist, those are the guys that you want to build and really grow those young guys around the locker room with.
What do you think, Jeff?
Well, again, Jarmo has many options. Today's day one of free agency. They don't need to jump in immediately. And hey, I could see Jarmo Kekalainen in the days ahead making significant trades to improve the team. Again, teams are strapped for cash. The Blue Jackets have a lot of flexibility. They still have Patrick Laine unsigned. What happens with Laine? So keep an eye on what happens here with the Blue Jackets. There's a long way to go before, early October, the start of training camp, and then ultimately the start of the season in Carolina. Jarmo's got a lot of time to make moves and improve this hockey club.
I think he can wait. Patrick can hold out until November. Was it November when the Blue Jackets go to Finland?
Yes, yes.
Good one, Jody. That's a good
Missed
one,
training
Jody.
camp, join the team in Finland. I think that might be his date. If there's any holdout involved.
But incidentally, as we close things off, Bob McKenzie, who doesn't throw rumors out there lightly, he says Jarmo may move Patrick Laine. But I like your thought, maybe not until after Finland.
No way he moves Patrick Laine.
Yeah, he's not
no
moving.
way.
Hey, Jody, as
Yeah.
I'm thinking, if we can find two individuals to fill out our spots, you and I can start hitting the gym and maybe go to training camp in Arizona. See if we can help them reach that floor.
Lukey, anyone that's handing money out just to get to the floor, I mean,
That's right.
to me, that's a good deal. We want to overpay you so that we're compliant with the cap floor. I'm in.
Yeah, just locker room guy.
It'll
and
take
you
more
grab
than the gym.
water, open
Yeah,
the
take
door.
more
There
than the
you go.
gym for me to get ready.
Hey, Jeff, is there any indication that Bob McKenzie was drinking those margaritas that he's now peddling these days?
Yeah,
or
the
no?
Bobby, I think there's probably a good idea that he had one or two Bobby margaritas before throwing that one out.
Hey guys, this has been fun. I mean,
Great.
again, I know the Blue Jackets haven't made a move, but it's great talking hockey in July. It's great catching up with you guys like this. And again, everybody is everywhere. Jean-Luc and I are in Columbus. Jody, where are you today?
I'm in Rocky Top, Tennessee. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Rocky Top, Tennessee.
I'm in Rocky Top, Tennessee
Where
at a
is
parking
that?
lot with my family. My family's on hold. It's
Nashville? Anywhere
where is it?
near?
Just south. We're just north of Knoxville, Tennessee.
Right. Yeah.
Are you in the
So,
RV?
We're in
Yeah,
the RV. Yeah, this is not my living room. This is the RV.
Hey,
Family's
RV looks
waiting
better
for
than
me
my
to start
living
our
room.
vacation. We're just on pause for this. So this has been great to see you guys, but I'm not going to see you for a few days.
I can't believe you didn't play the song. I've heard that Rocky Top song a million times. I hear it in my sleep.
I was humming it through the.
Yeah.
Well, we just came through the Cumberland Gap right there too.
Yep.
It's a great area right here,
Yeah.
Bob.
I'll be coming down
south.
there. We're going to be driving down through there tomorrow on our way to Florida.
Oh,
So
you're tomorrow? Maybe
I'll be
you'll catch
chasing.
us.
I'll be chasing you.
I'm just going 60 miles an hour on the slow lane.
Jeff, where are you
that's-
today?
I'm in Naples, Florida, vacationing with my wife for the week.
All right. So, as they say, everybody is somewhere, but we're all here together with you today. So, thank you guys very much. Thanks to all of you for watching our Blue Jackets Free Agent Frenzy Show. It's been brought to you by Ruoff Mortgage. Again, 4:00 today, Jarmo Kekalainen will address the media, whether he makes a deal today or doesn't make a deal today. He will be addressing the media, and you'll be able to see that at bluejackets.com or on the Blue Jackets app. That's going to do it for Jean-Luc Grand-Pierre, Jeff Rimmer, Jody Shelley, and me, Bob McElligott. So long, and thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you, boys.